You think say because you marry me, you fit control me?
Stella, wetin happen to the woman where I love?
Yakubu, manage! You will feel it like you want to die, but you will not die, exactly. Yes, sir.
If a woman runs out of her house screaming for help with a bruised face, the whole street will stop. The police will be called. The husband will be arrested. But what happens when the person with the bruised face is a 6'2", broad-shouldered man, and the person who gave it to him is his petite, beautiful wife? Welcome back to our channel. In this city, we are obsessed with the perfect couple aesthetic. We judge people's happiness by their matching outfits on Instagram and the cars they drive. But the thick concrete walls of city mansions hide secrets that the camera never captures. Today, we are talking about a taboo. A story the city refuses to acknowledge. What happens when the king of the castle is actually a prisoner to his queen? Get comfortable, turn up your volume, and listen closely to the deeply hidden story of Frank. Our story unfolds behind the high electric fences of Lekki. A place where neighbors don't know each other's names, and everyone minds their own highly lucrative business. This is the perfect environment for a monster to operate. Because in a city where nobody hears you, you can scream as loud as you want. Frank was the definition of a Lagos success story. He was a highly sought-after real estate developer. Frank was a giant of a man. Tall, heavily built, the kind of man whose presence commanded respect the moment he walked into a boardroom. He had a deep voice and a gentle heart. His wife, Stella, was a different kind of powerful. She was a luxury fashion influencer. Petite, breathtakingly beautiful, always wearing the latest designer brands, with a smile that could charm a snake. Online, they were couple goals. But offline, the moment the heavy mahogany doors of their duplex closed, the smiling influencer disappeared, and a completely different Stella emerged. The abuse didn't start with punches. It started with control. Stella isolated Frank from his friends, claiming they were bad for his brand. Then, it escalated to vicious verbal attacks. She would tear down his self-esteem, mocking his background, his business decisions, his intelligence. And then, the physical violence began. It happened for the first time over something trivial. Frank had forgotten to pick up a specific brand of sparkling water she wanted for a brand photoshoot. Stella didn't just yell. She picked up a heavy glass vase and smashed it directly into Emmy's chest. Frank was shocked. He was strong enough to throw her across the room with one hand. But Frank was a gentleman. He was raised never, ever to lay a finger on a woman. So, he did what many abused men do. He took it. He apologized to calm her down. And that was his greatest mistake. Stella realized she had total immunity. She knew Frank would never fight back. And more importantly, she knew the ultimate city secret. Society does not believe men. She would taunt him while scratching his arms or slapping his face. Go and tell the police, Frank, she would laugh. Tell them your tiny wife is beating you up. Let's see who they laugh at. A whole Frank, crying like a baby. The psychological torture was worse than the physical pain. Frank lived in a constant state of anxiety. He started wearing long-sleeved shirts in the blistering Lagos heat to hide the scratch marks on his forearms. He wore sunglasses indoors to cover the bruising around his eyes, claiming he had an eye infection. He tried to seek help once. He sat down with his closest business partner at a high-end lounge on Victoria Island. Frank tentatively tried to explain what was happening at home. His partner just laughed, slapped Frank on the back, and said, "Ah, Frank. Women will always be women. Just be the man of the house and put her in her place. Buy her a new bag, she will calm down." Frank realized he was entirely alone. The breaking point came a week before their third wedding anniversary. Stella had demanded that Frank transfer the title of one of his prime real estate properties into her sole name so she could open a mega boutique. When Emmy politely said they needed to consult their lawyers first, Stella erupted. She didn't just throw things this time. She grabbed a heavy brass candlestick and struck Frank across the shoulder, hard enough to fracture his collarbone. Frank dropped to the floor in agony. Stella stood over him, breathless, and said, "By Friday, the papers will be signed. Or the next time you sleep, I will set this house on fire." Frank looked up at the woman he married. He finally understood that she wasn't just angry. She was dangerous. But how does a giant prove that he is the victim? Frank knew that if he just packed his bags and left, Stella would destroy his reputation. She would go to the blogs. She would claim he was the abuser. In the court of public opinion, a woman's tears will always convict a man before the evidence is even presented. Frank needed undeniable, bulletproof proof. He contacted a discreet security firm and had microscopic hidden cameras installed in the ceilings of the living room and their master bedroom. Friday arrived. The day she demanded the property papers. Frank came home empty-handed. When Stella asked for the papers, Frank looked her in the eye and said, "No. I am not giving you the property. And I am filing for divorce." Stella's eyes went wide. But she didn't attack him. Instead, a terrifying, wicked smile spread across her face. She walked over to the glass coffee table, picked up a heavy decorative stone, and violently smashed it against her own forehead. Blood immediately started pouring down her face. She then grabbed her own designer dress and ripped it at the collar. Frank watched in absolute horror as Stella picked up her phone, dialed the police, and began screaming hysterically. "Help me. My husband is trying to kill me. Please, he's going to kill me." Within 15 minutes, the flashing lights of police trucks lit up the estate. Armed officers kicked through the front door. They found Stella on the floor, crying, covered in blood, and Frank standing there, looking like the ultimate villain. The police didn't even ask Frank for his side of the story. They slapped the handcuffs on him. Stella looked at Emmy through her tears and gave him a tiny, victorious wink. She had won. She was going to take everything. But as the officers dragged Emmy toward the door, he stopped. He looked at the commanding officer and spoke in a calm, steady voice. "Officer, before you take me to the station, I need you to pull out your phone. Go to the IP address I am about to give you, and enter this password." The officer hesitated, but Frank's calm demeanor was unsettling. He pulled out his phone and logged into the cloud server Frank provided. Right there, in high definition with crystal clear audio, the officers watched the live playback. They watched Frank calmly ask for a divorce. They watched Stella smile, smash her own head with a stone, tear her own clothes, and fake the phone call. They also saw the archive files, months of footage showing Stella physically assaulting, slapping, and throwing objects at a man who never once fought back. The atmosphere in the room completely flipped. Stella was arrested on the spot for assault, battery, and filing a false police report. The footage made its way to court during the divorce proceedings. Because of her documented physical abuse, the prenuptial clauses were activated. Stella walked away from the marriage with absolutely nothing. Her influencer career was destroyed overnight when the truth leaked to the public. My people, abuse has no gender. Pain has no gender. We live in a society that tells men to man up and swallow their pain, making them the perfect, silent victims for toxic partners. Frank survived because he used his intellect instead of his fists. If you are in a situation where you are being abused, whether you are a man or a woman, speak out. Document everything. Your silence will not protect you, it will only empower your abuser. This is a conversation the city desperately needs to have. I want you to head down to the comment section right now. Why do you think society finds it so hard to believe that a man can be a victim of domestic violence? Let's talk about it in the comments. I will be reading and replying. If this story opened your eyes or kept you gripped till the end, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. It might just save a life. Stay safe, protect your peace, and I will see you in the next story. Bye for now.